There have been subtle changes in America's drug laws in recent years, but users are still subject to arrest, and dealers and drug mules still face stiff mandatory sentences for some offenses. Rob Campia is executive director of the Marijuana Policy Project, updating us on the conflict between pot and the law. Still with us, my colleague and host of Stossel, John Stossel. Also with us, conservative commentator and author of the book Losing Our Religion, S.E. Cupp. Rob, are you more optimistic than ever that the government will soon learn that prohibition was a failure, that people ought to be able to put into their own bodies whatever they want in the privacy of their own homes, and that taxpayer dollars and police force should be used against real crime and real criminals?
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely optimistic. I mean, public opinion polling has never been higher in support of ending marijuana prohibition. 44% of the American people actually support legalizing marijuana right now. That's more than it was in the 1960s and the 1970s, and in fact, that's the highest level of support than anywhere else in the world. 14 states have legalized the medical use of marijuana. Medical marijuana is going to become legal in Washington, D.C. locally this week after 12 years of fighting. And we're going to see a whole slew of additional states either decriminalizing marijuana or legalizing medical marijuana in the next couple of years.
Thank you. S.E., if the number of people that want marijuana legalized goes above 50%, right, would you then concede that it ought to be made legal, or should the government still tell people what to put in their bodies no matter how many people want to use this substance?
Right. I mean, I'm not swayed by public opinion.
Okay.
You know, I don't believe that you legalize bad behavior because you're too lazy to defend good behavior. And I feel like I'm the only one at this table not smoking marijuana. Because frankly...
Well, nobody's smoking marijuana here, and no one here is saying they have smoked
frankly,
it.
We're talking about... Make you happy and mellow. It makes you lazy and stupid. And when you get behind the wheel of a car, it makes you dangerous.
No one is suggesting, I don't think, John isn't suggesting, Rob isn't suggesting, I'm not suggesting, you should be able to be lazy and stupid and dangerous because you have a drug in you and get behind the wheel of a car, right, any more than you can be drunk with alcohol and get behind the wheel of a car. Right. But if you drink in your home to oblivion and don't harm anyone, that's not a crime. What's wrong with smoking marijuana in your home and not harming anyone?
Well, for one, we don't all just stay in our homes. I mean, we leave our homes, we go to the supermarket, we get in cars, and when we're impaired, we tend to treat our laws with a little less rigidity. And two, I mean, if the argument is that, well, we already engage in all of this bad behavior, let's throw another one on the pile, I'm sorry, that's not inspiring to me. That doesn't persuade me.
Who would persuade her, John Stossel? Who is the government to tell us how to live our lives?
Well, I don't know that I can persuade her. To me, I agree with you. Who is the government to tell me how I can live my life until I get in that car and hurt someone? I mean, do you want to ban alcohol?
No, absolutely not.
Well, alcohol is more harmful to the body and causes more injury than marijuana does.
First of all, let's not pretend that marijuana is not harmful. It contains 400 chemicals. It's 5 joints a week are worse than smoking a pack, are the same as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Let's not pretend it's like aspirin. But the bottom line is, if your only argument is you already engage in bad behavior, let's engage in another.
Hey, Rob,
that's not convincing to me.
Why hasn't the public learned, why hasn't the government learned that prohibition is a failure, an absolute and utter failure, and the people will ultimately put in their bodies what they want to put in their bodies no matter what the government tells them?
I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me. I mean, marijuana was made illegal 73 years ago. So marijuana prohibition is a very large government program that has actually failed to accomplish its goal, which is to actually keep people from using marijuana. It costs billions and billions of dollars every year. We arrest more than 850,000 people every year in the United States for marijuana. That's like arresting every single person in the state of Montana every year. So this is a government program that has never worked. It is not working, and it would seem like conservatives would say, let's get rid of this government program and let's regulate marijuana like alcohol.
Thank you. Because you're a conservative politically, should this be up to the states? Should you be able to vote with your feet, as Ronald Reagan once said? Should it be legal in New Jersey and Oregon, but perhaps illegal in Texas and in Missouri?
Yes, as a conservative, the answer to that question for me is always yes. But I'm sorry, the facts are there. Sweden, for example, one of the strictest drug laws in all of the world, and they have the lowest drug use. Alaska experimented with legalizing marijuana in the 70s, and the use of marijuana among youths doubled in the course of a year, and so they recriminalized it.
Were you surprised when Governor Sarah Palin said she's not in favor of legalization, she just wishes the police wouldn't enforce the marijuana laws?
Right, I mean, that did not make a lot of sense.
That?
She said that right here on this set, John, because as a governor of a state where there is prevalent marijuana use, she's aware of the waste of resources in trying to get people to curb their personal private behavior.
So then legalize it. But when you say, how are you going to convince the government, we can't even convince this young woman who seems pretty smart.
All right, but you'd go along with it if we could convince 50 separate state governments. So the feds should be out of this business.
I'm for people voting their interests, absolutely. But the bottom line is the pot lobby is very confused. They don't know whether to treat marijuana as a vice and tax it or as a drug and regulate it.
Got it. Rob, you got 15 seconds on the last word.
We're not confused. I mean, it's pretty clear that marijuana would be better to actually regulate and tax rather than to keep it in the hands of drug dealers where it's untaxed and unsafe. And let's not joke around here. Marijuana is clearly safer than alcohol. So if we're going to regulate and tax alcohol in our society, we should surely do the same with marijuana.
Rob Campea, SC Cop, John Stossel, thanks very much for joining us.